Good evening, everyone. It is I, John, the head of the Crabby Morning podcast. I brought along some special guests. What are your names, special guests?
Kayla.
Dylan.
Liam.
And today we have another special guest. His kind of related to me, and his name is
Laurence.
Laurence. Thank you for joining us today. Not that you're being detained here by us illegally.
Yes.
So today's topic is going to be censorship. Laurence was talking about this before, and he brought up an important topic of why do we censor things? And I thought I would share my opinions first. Because we were also talking about how things might be a little more censored today than they were in the past. And I think it's like an advancement thing where we realize things in the past we've done might not be the best to be portrayed to everyone rather than as they were now, like learning from our mistakes. So I think censorship is pretty good, I guess. Do I think things should be censored forever? No, because I think that it's also important to learn about things as well. And like, imagine being like 20 years old and not knowing anything about violence or anything else that happens in the world. If you censor all of that and you think everything is rainbows and Hello Kitty, then that's, I don't know, you might just not be in for a big surprise treat. Liam, any thoughts?
I believe that censorship is a blessing and a curse. Because yeah, sure, you can it's kind of like a floodgate to an extent. You can let certain things go through, but you can also keep a lot of things out. And I just think that we should just not censor anything. Kind of like, I guess we could start off with not censoring radio music, like how radio music is always censored, like they bleep out a lot of words and stuff. It's just, there's no point to that.
Why?
Because it ruins the whole vibe of the music.
I guess so, a little bit.
It just doesn't make any sense.
What about the kids that want to listen to like Megan Thee Stallion?
Yeah,
what are they gonna do when they don't
Oh
want
my
their
gosh.
What if they want to listen to Wet and Gushy instead of WAP? Liam?
Well,
Should they revert to Kids Bop?
Yes.
Kids Bop should have been canceled. That's my own opinion, but people can like Kids Bop if they want to.
Okay. Thoughts, Dylan?
I actually do gotta say I do actually agree with the bleeping, just in case like a kid just happens to hear the catchiness of the song, because kids are gonna find the song anyway.
Well, and they're also gonna hear it from school and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's some like third graders that knew more swear words than I did in third grade.
Because they have the internet.
Yeah.
Now, is it because the internet is not censored? And is that a good thing or a bad thing, Liam?
It is a good thing because the internet is a place to where you can look up anything and get anything you want. All the information you need is right there at your fingertips or in the public library.
Except for secret government databases.
And they shouldn't do that, you know. I think the UN should all come to the table and just leak all their secret information.
All right.
And so nobody has secrets and nobody has to be scared.
A secret, can you keep it? Hey Kayla, thoughts? not on the government, but on whether things should be censored or why we censor things.
This is a tough topic for me because I still don't really have much of an opinion or thoughts on it because I really haven't thought about it until just now. So it's really hard for me to form an opinion right now.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps our debate today can open up a little bit more thoughts on this topic. Dylan, you made a list of some movies that you think had a lack of censorship. What are some of these movies?
Yes, John. So basically, you have to have a balance between censorship needs a balance. That's basically what I'm trying to say. you should be able to have information if you need it, and shouldn't be like censored from you, and that's just my opinion. But we also have to acknowledge why censorship is a thing in the first place. And before I get into these specific examples, and these are like movies from the 80s and 90s, I want to give a trigger warning and also a spoiler warning, because this is kind of going into spoiling territory.
Yeah, okay.
The first one is not as bad. It is about the Ghostbusters movies and chain smoking. I know one of the characters on there, I don't remember what his name was, but he would always have a cigarette in his mouth every single scene that he had. And you don't really see like people smoking a lot in movies, and if you do, they're always like the evil character.
Except for Augustus from The Fault in Our Stars, and he doesn't light his cigarettes because he doesn't like, he likes to control what kills him.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
That was so sad.
Anyways,
continue.
Any thoughts on that?
I mean, that was kind of normal back then, because you could literally smoke in restaurants and bars. You could literally just hotbox a whole restaurant with like cigarette smoke, and that was just normal.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess that makes sense why movies from the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of people chain smoking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that if they had kept these cigarettes in the media, that it would be a bigger problem today still? Because I know that it's getting pretty low about the numbers people who still smoke cigarettes as compared to before. Do you think that if they took these out of the movies today, or if they did not, that a lot more people would be smoking?
Absolutely. What we put in the media matters. If a kid, like a 12-year-old kid, is seeing something on the screen about people smoking, and they're shown like looking cool, and they're like acting like they got all this stuff, then of course they want to do the same thing that the people they idolize are doing.
I like your point, Dylan.
Thank you.
It's how you present it too. Because if you make something look cool, other people are gonna in some sort of like, some way or fashion, they're gonna subconsciously follow it. Whereas like if you show something, I don't know, a bunch of people, they show like scenes of human trafficking, people holding, terrorists holding people hostage on the news, on TV.
Yeah.
You don't show that in a cool way. That's presenting information. It's still violent stuff.
Yes.
So you don't want to, you don't want to portray it as cool, because you obviously want to keep it in a solemn tone, because it's agreed upon that this is not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But in like video games or movies, whatever, if you present it in a cool way, people are gonna, in some way or fashion, they're gonna do it more often.
They should make a short film about smoking. I'm pretty sure this would it would probably keep people from smoking a lot. You know the scene from Aliens where the alien bursts out of the chest?
Mm-hmm.
Well, someone's smoking a cigarette and the alien pops out of their chest.
Oh my gosh.
You show that to children, they're never gonna smoke. I mean, sure, they'd be scarred, and a lot of parents would be upset, but it'd send a message.
I mean, to be honest, it probably would work though, because like they've done that before, and then people will avoid those specific things that they're advertising against.
There's one commercial about smoking. It's literally the guy is at the gas station, and he's like, you gotta pay, right? And then the guy rips out his tooth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. That's brutal.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to be honest, I wanted to smoke a cigarette when I turned 18, and I tried it. I took one puff, I threw up, and after that, I just never touched a cigarette again.
The end.
Mm-hmm.
An inspirational story from Liam.
Yes.
Thank you. Dylan, what's some more examples?
So, the next example, kind of also segueing off of what Laurence had to say, was the scene in Back to the Future about sexual assault. So, for the people who haven't watched the movie, the main bad guy Buzz sexually assaults Marty's mom in the car outside of the prom, and that same scene would be treated very differently today. For example, if you had the same scene, but it was like today, like I said, then they would show like the trauma or like that, what that person had to go through after that happens. But in Back to the Future, you don't get that. The person just, I think she's upset about it for like a few scenes afterwards, but then she forgets about it and it doesn't affect her anymore. And so it's the way that like Laurence has been saying, it's the way that you treat these scenes that kind of shows the severity of the situation.
So from that scene to Back to the Future with the sexual assault, they didn't put a lot of emotional impact onto that scene. They just kind of glossed over it.
Mm-hmm.
And what if they did that now? It would have. I haven't seen anything.
Movies spark outrage.
For sure.
Yes.
But I haven't seen any scenes like that in any movies or TV shows that I can think of. But I would believe that it's portrayed differently, like more emotionally impacted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Dylan, you got another example?
Yes, I do. The next one is about a very popular children's movie called The Sandlot. And this is, and of course, a lot of people probably have seen this scene about one of the people that are part of The Sandlot. They fake drowning in a pool, and the adult lifeguard. By the way, I think I mentioned it before, but it's a kid. The adult lifeguard pulls him out of the water and then starts doing CPR. But then he was never like unconscious, and so he actually, when she's about to like
give him CPR.
Yeah, when she's about to give him CPR, he grabs the back of her head and just kisses her. And you could not have a scene like that today. You couldn't.
That's true.
Any thoughts on that?
First of all, I would like to comment that when someone's doing CPR, they first need to check the person's pulse, because if they're still breathing and have a pulse, which she definitely probably was.
Mm-hmm.
So she wasn't fully CPR trained.
Yeah, I don't think they thought about that.
Secondly, I don't know. I feel like
you gotta tap their shoulders, be like, "Hey, are you okay?" And if they're not responsive, then
I've heard of a movie similar to this, and it was about this kid who's a millionaire who wishes to become a millionaire, and he falls in love with this lady, and she's like 10, and the lady's like in her 20s.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. And then he's all like, "Will you marry me? Will you marry me?" She's like, "Maybe when you're a little bit older." And then he's like, "How long? Like 10 years? How about 5?" And then they like kiss.
Oh my god!
And then so it went viral a little while ago because people were watching this movie and were like, what? I think that one's a little bit worse than this one, in my opinion.
I mean, it's
because
it
was insinuated it was started by the adult, while this one was a little bit less approved of by the adult. They were just trying to give them CPR.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal opinion.
Oh my gosh, I did not know about that.
Anyways,
so the last example that I have is a scene from Die Hard 3, and for the people who don't know about this scene, like, I can't believe I can't even imagine like how shocked they were to see this, because there's nothing like really bad about the first and second Die Hards, from at least what I can remember.
Yeah.
But in the third one, it takes place in New York, and John McClane is working in a police station that is in the city. And what basically happens is an anonymous caller calls the station, and they said that like if John McClane doesn't do this specific thing, then a bomb will go off somewhere in the city. So what they tell John McClane to do is he puts on a sign, and then they have him like this really big van, and they open the back of the van, and he like walks it into the street, and they put him into in Harlem. And they don't show what the sign says at first, but as he's walking down the street, people are looking at him and they're like giving him like these crazy looks. They're like, what the heck is this guy doing? And finally it's revealed that like he turns the sign and he's like again, he's in the middle of Harlem.
Yeah.
And it said I hate, and then it said the N-word.
Oh.
And I was just thinking, like, I can't believe they would even think of putting a scene like that into a movie.
Was it like? Do you think it was like a comedy based thing, or was it? Do you think it was more of like a psychological based kind of movie?
No, it was an action film.
An action film?
Yes, it was not meant to be like funny or anything. It was just there, and it just popped up.
You know, I've only seen the first Die Hard, so I cannot speak for the third or second one. And it's definitely the movie industry and just every industry and just life cultural stuff. It's definitely changed from the 80s to now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of changes and stuff and how you portray certain things and a lot of censorship.
Yeah. But some for good reason, like I just described.
Yeah,
Like we've been saying, what you show in the media matters, and these topics that I've just listed, they need to be treated the right way, because then you're going to get a lot of backlash for what you put on there for really good reasons. But the moral that I was trying to make with this is that, you know, people didn't really care as much about these scenes when they were made. And I think that like nowadays, since you would never see scenes like this in more modern times, then like people care a lot more than they did back then. So what I'm trying to say is, if you apply that idea to today, and like if there's an issue that you care about, but like other people don't seem to care about it that much, but it really means a lot to you, then it's most likely, not all the time, but of course sometimes, it's likely that people will start caring in the future. And
so there's like a lot of talk about a lot of young people being overly sensitive today. Seeing as what you are just saying, do you think that maybe it's okay to be a little bit sensitive some of the times?
I think so, yeah. If you really care about something that pertains to you, then of course fight for it, because that's what you believe in. Of course, in the right way, of course. Don't be violent about it.
That's true. Thoughts, Kayla?
Interesting.
Did you learn anything today that you might not have thought of before? Like, have any opinions on anything that we have spoken on today?
I'm drawing a blank here.
It's okay.
It's okay, you're having a brain melt.
Yeah.
Do you remember any movies that you watched as a kid that maybe influenced how you acted, or like you wanted to be like one of the characters?
Oh, I couldn't be Godzilla. I wish I could have as a kid. That was my dream. But definitely what I've learned from just discussing about censorship is that I'm going to have to rewatch a few movies, see if I remember it correctly. Yeah, so definitely going to have to review a few movies to just see if there's anything I missed when I first watched it.
Right.
Yeah.
Lawrence, final thoughts?
Final thoughts? Yeah, it's important to take away that, well, one, like we live in the U.S., our censorship is kind of individualized, but at the same time it changes with the general populace's opinion on what is acceptable and what is not. And then you also got to keep in mind things. Some gory scenes you may see in the 80s. I guess you could see some gory scenes today, but you could look at popular music that kids were listening to back then and today, and you think, if someone back, if a teenager back then were listening to things we listen today now, just looking at the lyrics, they'd think, this is crazy. I can't believe our future has come to this.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's different. Like books, movies, music. Just keep in mind that like our censorship is individualized across people's, how they want their stuff to come across.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you want to show gory scenes because you're trying to give a sense of realism, like especially in documentaries or just reenactments of scenes. You want to show this was not cool. This is not supposed to happen. This was a really I'm having trouble finding the words, but this is something that really shouldn't have happened to X person.
Yes.
And it did, and like a serial killer mutilated X amount of people, did these things, these nasty things to them. So it all depends.
Yeah,
and we got to keep in mind.
But they would never want a scene like that, or like whatever they're trying to do, to be treated in the wrong way. They would want it to be respectful of them, because it's something that happened to them that it could mean a lot to them, the way that you show that to other people.
Yeah. So now we go off and rewatch all our movies.
Yeah.
All right, Dylan, would you like to finish us off with the question of the day?
Yes, I would. The question of the day is, what is something you've seen in a movie or TV show that wouldn't slide today? And can there be instances where censorship can go too far? Thank you guys so much. As always, like and subscribe, and you guys have a crabby morning.